Good afternoon, this is Brian. Today is a quite warm and Santa Ana wind-ridden Monday afternoon. Today is December 7th, 2020. I'm at home right now. Yep, California is under a national, or not national, state-ordered lockdown. It doesn't preclude people from hiking in most areas unless the trails are closed. From what I've heard, I don't know if any trails are closed, but as long as you can keep your distance. That's not the point of this video. Actually, what I want to do is focus on stuff that goes on here at my house with respect to plants, because as you've seen my videos, if you've seen my videos, you know what? Love to talk about plants. Love to talk about plants. Love finding plants and discussing them in detail on my channel. That's a big part of what I do. So, why not enjoy what I do in the field? Why not enjoy doing it at home? You might have caught a few glimpses of my patio. You see that I have lots and lots and lots of plants. And I'm going to go into more detail, obviously, about what these are pretty soon. But not only do I love studying plants, not only do I love documenting plants and yapping about plants, I also love growing plants. That's a very big part of what I think is important to me in my life. I love growing plants. Like, I love talking about them and finding them in the field. Growing them is a big pleasure in growing plants. In fact, I have quite an interesting, diverse array of plants. A lot of them are native and quite a few aren't. So I'm going to talk about some of them today on this video. So I'll start off with some of the non-native plants, because honestly, I'm big on the native plants. I love all plants. I love plants, period, but I just have a big thing for native plants, so I definitely want to spend a little more time talking about those. Alright, well, fortunately, you see where I live. It's an apartment. It's not a house. I don't have a yard, so I can't plant these in the ground. So why do I have so many? Just can't help myself. Put it that way. Alright, so I want to start with a tree I rescued as a seedling. It was probably about this tall. A friend and I rescued it in a crack in a park. And it's this guy right here. I've had this since 2013. This is Corymbia citriodora, lemon-scented gum. It's a close relative of eucalyptus and often still referred to as eucalyptus. So this tree is about 7.5 years old. Got it in June of 2013. Pulled it out of a crack in the sidewalk. So, honestly, I probably would have done a lot better if I had a place to plant it. But once you get these things going, these things are really fast growing. Probably be 4 or 5 times the size of this right now, and probably would have already flowered by now, because these are very fast growing trees. Again, this is Corymbia citriodora, lemon-scented gum. And they start out with very bristly, very fragrant leaves. You just rub the leaf and you smell it, but then when they grow older, their leaves become less bristly and you have to crush them to get the smell, and eventually become a lot narrower when the tree gets older. Alright, let's go look at a couple of other non-native plants. Like I said, I didn't germinate this from seed. I collected as a seedling and tried to play rescue with it. Okay, well, some plants that I've had some on and off luck with. These are non-natives too. These are Jacaranda mimosifolia. Again, probably be doing a lot better if I had these in the ground. They'd probably be about 4 or 5 times the size, and they wouldn't be so scraggly. And there's the ferny foliage of the Jacaranda. These I did germinate from seed I ordered online back in 2014. So, like I said, they would have been a huge ton, quite a bit larger by now. Alright, well, here's a collection of some plants These I will go into more detail because these are going to be focused in my next segment, the native plants. I'm not going to talk about those yet. Here's a plumeria that I bought from my mother a few years ago. Again, no room to plant it, but it has flowered once, so that's pretty cool. Yes, I know I got to do a little weed trimming. Yeah, sometimes, you know, I'm like everybody else. I can be pretty forgetful sometimes. But here's a citrus, an orange tree I grew from a seed. I didn't graft it or anything. I just picked the seed up from the ground and planted it, and it germinated. Again, probably should have a bigger place to have them, but right now I just don't. And those I germinated from seed. Let's see. I have a strawberry guava, Psidium Cutleyanum. I didn't germinate this from seed. I actually bought it from a nursery a few years ago, and it's developed fruit on it, and it does fruit quite often. And fruits are not that bad. They're pretty decent tasting. And then I have right here, it's not going to look like much to the average person, but it's a white mulberry, Morris alba, and this is dormant because it's winter. Here's another one that still has a few leaves left on it. Then we got a Schefflera actinophila. This came up on its own. About 2 years ago, I noticed a seedling of something with really thick, waxy cotyledons. I was thinking, what the heck is this? So I waited and waited, thinking, oh, this must be in the Aralia family. Voila, it was. This is a Schefflera. These are the ones that get those octopus-shaped red flower clusters on them. Yeah, this is Schefflera actinophila. These can get to like 40, 50 feet tall. And it just came up on its own. So I was like, okay, I'll roll with it. Okay, now, another plant that volunteered itself in my garden is this. Right here. This is an African sumac, Cercia lancea. You can see the 3 leaflets there. This is another non-native, but it's related to the sumacs in the genus Rus. In fact, it was considered as Rus lancea, and this is one of the parent trees right here. We've got a few of these growing along the street here. But yeah, that's Cercia lancea, the African sumac. And though I have probably like 4 or 5 of them that come up by themselves because their seeds are easily spread by birds. So I just roll with it. I like plants, can't help it. Okay, and we got some rosemary, Rosmarinus officinalis. These ones I bought for my mother in a little miniature herb garden. And they turn out to be quite nice woody shrubs. And they're in the mint family like my sages. Watch some of my videos about sage and stuff like that. They're in the mint family too. Here's another orange tree I germinated from seed. Starting to get a little scraggly. I probably need to repot this guy. But usually they'll... It's really not that hard to germinate. And here's a plant in the agave family. It looks like a foxtail agave. You think, oh, foxtail agave, agave attenuata, which has similar leaves, but this is actually a plant called Mauritian hemp, Fucria foetidissima. And it's a member of the agave family. It's either foetida or foetidissima. I kind of forget right now. I'll throw the name up later on. But these are very easy to grow. This was the original plant that produced a flower stalk, but since there is no pollinator for it, it's not going to pollinate, so it's going to send this up, and it sends up these little bulbils. These bulbils, you can take them off and they form their own plants. This was one of these that came from this, and it's also pupping too, so it's sending up shoots from the roots. So I guess they can colony forming. And here are a couple other ones I have from bulbils from the same plant. They're doing pretty well. Okay. Then I have a podocarpus here. I'm not sure if this is Podocarpus macrophyllus or Podocarpus henkelii. It's a podocarp. But it's kind of interesting to see. It's doing pretty well. I mean, could use another place to grow. And some type of probably Crassulaceae plant. I'm not even familiar with that. But well, that's gonna do it for part one. Part one was basically the non-native plants. Well, part two, because I'm starting to lose battery power, I'm gonna have to make this a two-part set. Part two will deal with the native plants I have growing on here, and obviously the more energy will be focused on the native plants I have growing here, and plants that are nearly native to California. So look out for it in part two, and I will see you on my next clip.